Point changes. Oh, the shocking number of point changes we had to the Genestealer Cult. There was none. None at all. It was a very light balance patch, as was the previous one, but I haven't done one of these videos or live streams for, I don't know, 9 months now? So that can cover a few changes that have happened in the past. Some people who play tournaments every weekend will be like, the meta's the same. This is awful and boring and stale. And to them I say, play other game modes. If you still want to play 40k, choose a Crusade mission, choose a White Dwarf mission, choose the asymmetric missions. Any of them. Try that, see how it goes. I'm still playing Final Day as my competitive detachment. I've enjoyed replaying Xenocreed quite a bit for the January videos. I've also enjoyed replaying the Brood Brothers Auxilia a bit. It's a fun detachment. Now, of course, today we're going to be doing all of the Genestealer Cult units. And as we're doing all the Genestealer Cult units in a tier list, there's a thing that we always have to say with the Genestealer Cult. It's very hard to do a general tier list for the Genestealer Cult because many units are great in one detachment and very much lacking in the others. It's why each detachment would want its own ranking. Because any unit apart from the Tectonic Fragdrill has a good use if you can use it correctly. The Magus seems bad, but the Magus is pretty good in the Xenocreed, so it's hard to rank them perfectly. So it doesn't quite matter how well they do in tournament lists, because new tournament lists can come up and change things around. Remember what I said in the meta video last week? Almost any unit can work in this detachment system that we have. There's some increase in difficulty to your game depending on the unit you pick. I accept and expect people to optimize so that you're not buying expensive models that don't work well on the table. The internal balance is lacking in 40k. Now people say, oh yeah, this is the most balanced edition, but it's still not balanced, and internal balance is a problem. Some detachments are clearly better than others. The Brood Brothers Auxilia, for example, is amazing because you can take Imperial Guard units and you can't do that anywhere else, and that's just so unfair. So that's a top tier detachment, of course. I'm trying to think of one that's actually good that people don't like. Oh yeah, the Tyrannid one. Oh, the Final Day one. That's terrible because you pretty much have to have Tyrannids for it to work. It's the worst. Some people will think this. I do wish when people were making comments that they would say which detachment they're running where such a thing is good or bad. But we have no benchmark detachment that is generic. Something that says, okay, we have a detachment rule, it's made better, and all of the stratagems are just about using the units we have. Even the Host of Ascension is more shooting than combat. Even the Xenocreed Congregation, which has an enhancement that changes the army rule, so you get more resurgence points, that's about some specific units, the Acolytes, the Metamorphs, and sort of the Neophytes. But with the detachments, it also means that some units will work better in one detachment, they'll be terrible in another one. So the Patriarch doesn't do too much in the Outlander Claw, but has great power in the Final Day or the Biosactic Brute Surge. So I'll be going over the good ways to use each unit in key detachments. So we're looking at the meta right now. Generally. I'm not going to cover any Brood Brothers units that we get from Imperial Guard. That would be far too big and too long. Nor am I going to cover the Tyrannids and Final Day. When those videos come out for January, then I will go through the different units that are good or not good. Alright, so there's a tier list table. So S tier is units you want to have like all the time in almost all detachments. The staples that you would take. A tier ones are generally good, with good use in most detachments. B tier ones are often overshadowed. They work pretty well. Maybe they work especially good in one detachment, but there is usually another unit that will usually do better than them. C tier ones are good in one particular detachment and not really anywhere else. You can make them work elsewhere, but it's far more effort than it's usually worth. And the D tier units, you don't include. It's not just that there's something better, it's that this is upping the difficulty of playing the army just by including it. Really ready for the Genestealer Cult DJ bashing? I hope so. Clamavus, so bad. Fragdrill, S tier. If you want to make the game harder for yourself, you could do. It would be like playing with, I forget how many fewer points. Tectonic Fragdrill costs about 100 points. Yeah, 125 points. There you go. So if you're playing a 2,000 point game, you're playing with 1,875 points. A Fragdrill focused detachment. What an interesting thought. So how about we do this Fragdrill first? It can't move. It's got toughness 11, 14 wounds and a 3+ save. Oh, it's difficult to shift. There's no objective control, and enemies can charge it, but if they want to fall back from it, they don't need to take desperate escape tests. The best you can do with it as a fortification is put it in the way so that enemies can't go down one particular route. Like if they want to get into your deployment zone, then there's a narrow corridor. Oh, well, there's a Tectonic Fragdrill in the way, so they can't go within an inch of it. Otherwise, it might actually work badly. They could charge it, and then they get closer to you. And it's in combat with one of your units, so you can't shoot them. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. When one of your cult ambush markers is removed by the enemy, then you can set it up within 9 inches of the Fragdrill. Or you can have an Iconward. Iconward does the same thing. And if you did get in combat with it, it has 6 attacks at strength 12, d6 damage, and only hits on a 6. It's not good. Can't do anything with it, really. It's if you want to play the game on harder mode. The Magus. Yeah, we'll do the Magus. I'm gonna put them in C tier, I think. I have been playing them more, especially in the Xenocreed congregation, and they are workable. They work quite well. I was playing against Imperial Guard and Orcs, so that was part of it. -1 to hit on Orc shooting and Imperial Guard shooting, like on a big squad of Orcs, like looters, like flashgates, like even boys with the shooters. Or in a Rogel Dawn, or in a Baneblade. We're getting very specific, and you have to be within 18 inches to use that ability, but -1 to hit can just totally mess them up. That's like ignoring an order on that unit. So I've been playing the character more, and targeted, like, anti-stealth is very useful, because you just pick an enemy unit that's good at shooting, and then it's like your whole army gets stealth against them. As long as you don't roll a 1. It's unfortunate that it's random whether it works or not. But I'm okay with that. I like a bit of random in my games. It is a dice game, after all. If you're in the Xenocreed congregation, they're one of the good characters. They can take enhancements, like deeds that speak to the masters, so you get 2 more resurgence points. And if they get killed in the Xenocreed congregation, then you get Vengeance for the Martyr. That's one of the stratagems. You get to reroll hit rolls, all the hit rolls, but it's only going to work on your Acolytes, your Metamorphs, and your Neophytes. They're the only ones that get the rerolls to hit. You can use the Vengeance for the Martyr stratagem on any character, but only the Magus, Primus, or Acolyte Iconward will give them full rerolls to hit. Otherwise, it's reroll hit rolls of 1. There's a lot of characters that are, yeah, about 50 points. The idea being you could just have them wander alone, and if you have a very cheap unit with objective control, at least 1, then you'll have a bunch of them. They'll wander on objectives, they'll do actions, and be very cheap while the rest of the army is fighting. Sure, you'll give up victory points for Assassinate. It's fine. It's fine. It'll be fine. So that's why they're all like 50 points at least. I think Games Workshop was like, okay, after like 8th edition, that's when they said, at this point, we need to have a minimum points value for like all of the units. Otherwise, people are taking these 27 and 35 point units and they're just doing all the actions. In fact, the game by the end of 9th edition became very much, you never take anything over a squad of 5. 10th edition did very well for opening it up and saying, okay, I'm going to have a big unit and I'm going to use a stratagem on them, and then I get a lot of use out of that stratagem. And because I'm putting a character in the unit rather than as an aura, I'm getting more use out of the character. In 9th edition, it was auras of abilities. So like within 6 inches of the character, all units or all core units or all infantry units could get a benefit. Having the characters in units is much better. Right, so I'm sticking the Magus in C tier because C tier is where we say, these are fine, they're good in 1-ish detachment. That's pretty much it. I don't think there's anywhere else I'm like, oh, I need to have them. It's fine, it's fun, it works. Who are we doing next? The Jackals, I saw the Jackals, we'll do the Jackal Bikers. This might be a debatable one. I'll put them there for the moment. So with the Jackal Bikers, they're now, and have been for a while, 2 resurgence points to bring back a unit of 5. 6 resurgence points for a unit of 10, so I don't do units of 10. Another reason I only do units of 5 is because the demo run caps at 6 mortal wounds. So if you have a unit of 5, you may get 5 mortal wounds. If you have a unit of 10, you could roll all 10 successes and you still cause 6 mortal wounds. You can combo that with a grenade stratagem and a mining laser from the Wolf Quad. I think the mining laser is the best when I've tried it. The incinerator is fine. If you want any combos like +1 to hit, lethal hits or sustained hits on the unit, you need a unit that has a gun that's not going to auto hit. They can definitely bring down tough enemies that are far more than their points. And the demo run has a lot of flexibility. You can advance and do it, you can fall back and do it. And the scouting is nice. I like scout because you know who's going to go first before you scout, unlike with, say, redeploying units with the Primus. You can block enemies, you can attack enemies, you can get round to where you want to be. If it was like, okay, the toughest enemy thing is on the right flank and I've deployed these on the left flank, I'll scout 9 inches rightwards and then move 12 inches in the first movement phase, and then I can do a demo run. You can't advance and throw grenades, but you can advance and do a demo run. 10 works in Outlander Claw? Yeah, 10 works in Outlander Claw. That's fine. They do have stealth as well, yes. You've got 2 wounds on all the bikers, 4 wounds on the Wolf Quad, so you've got 12 wounds for the unit, and they have stealth, so they're kind of hard to shoot. And they're pretty good for doing a very annoying thing, which people have done since they existed, of move blocking. You turn the bike sideways, you have a unit of 5, so you only need to be in coherency with one other model, and you have a long line that's in front of like half the enemy deployment zone. Being mounted does hurt in ruin-filled battlefields. Yeah, because you can't go through the walls, you have to go round. But what you do with the bikes is you put them around a building, and then the enemy infantry can't get out. Maybe like an inch and a bit from the building. It depends if you're doing the wall blocking rule, which is a pain, where you've got to figure out, because you can't end your move within a wall, but you also have to be within engagement range of the enemy, that's 1 inches. There can be positions where you can't put the base to be in engagement range, even if it's a 3-inch charge and you can roll a 7 on the charge, you can't fit the base the other side of the wall because the ruin wall is in the way, and if you're in the ruin, then you're not within an inch of the enemy. So that's how you move block someone, or just say, I'm locking you into this ruin for now. It's kind of unpleasant, I don't like to do it. And I prefer infiltrating Purestrains. They cost the same points, I think, as Purestrains. Atalan Jackals cost 85 points for 5. Purestrain Genestealers are 75 points. So I prefer the Purestrain Genestealers. Also have 2 wounds, and they have an invulnerable save rather than stealth. They infiltrate so they can block enemies much easier. They just say, okay, you're not coming this far or this far and no further. But I think A tier is good. They do decent damage. They're maybe not the best. They can work in fighting and shooting. They can work at blocking the enemy. I think the Genestealers are going to be better. And of course, if you're playing Outlander Claw, you want all the bikes. 3 squads of 5 bikes. Alright, so if we're comparing the Jackals to the Purestrains, we'll do the Purestrains and then we'll do that Kellermorph man. Ooh, do we put the Genestealers of the Genestealer Cult right at the top? Maybe, maybe. Very good infiltrate. They can fight off enemy infiltrators and screening units. Like, they can kill pretty much any other infiltrating enemy unit. Poxwalkers, they can scythe through. Space Marine Scouts. The Tau stealth suits. They have a lot of wounds. There's 5 of them now rather than 3. And they've got 2 wounds per model. That's 10 wounds, but we can do that. With a unit of 5, we can almost do that. Anything else that infiltrates or scouts, like the World Eaters, long-legged Berserker cultists, we can kill them very quickly. If you have a squad of 10, what you do is you deploy them first in a long line across the middle of the battlefield, like right in the center, and block off as much of it as you can so the enemy infiltrators can't really go anywhere. And then you use the Primus to redeploy that unit before the game starts as you put them somewhere sensible. Do that in like all of the detachments, but in the Outlander Claw, you should have enough Jackal bikers that can scout forward 9 inches. And Ridgerunners can scout. You've got a lot of scouting things. You can still keep the enemy back or counterattack them. You'll know whether you're going first or second at that point. That's one of the benefits of Scout. But even in the Outlander Claw, I'm thinking, I still would like some Purestrain Genestealers. In the final day, you can attach an enhanced Patriarch and then have sustained hits, or you're not going to shoot Overwatch at me. And you can rush in, and there's the Hyperferocity stratagem, so you're hitting on 2+ with full rerolls to wound, and the Patriarch gives the unit devastating wounds. Or in the Biosanctuary Brood Surge, you get even more attacks, so it's 5 attacks per Purestrain. They're a very important unit for rushing at the enemy, putting them in front of the enemy, not necessarily charging, just being something that's in the way, so the enemy has to shoot them out the way, or they get as far as charging them but can't go any further, which gives you time to seize the objectives. Yeah, they're good in the Outlander Claw just to say, no infiltrating for you, or at least half the board. With a squad of 5, you can say, half the board is not where you're going to infiltrate, I have an area where I can move forward. Or you can infiltrate onto an objective, especially if it's like the table quarters setup. I can't remember what they call it now. Even if I said the name, most of you wouldn't know the name of it. You can say, okay, this one objective on the left-hand side, I'm going to start on it, and I'm hidden, and I'm just going to start doing actions right away. And a unit of 5 Purestrains, 2 resurgence points, great choice to come back, drop them in, and complete secondary missions. Did we see the resurgence video about resurgence points, the best way to spend your resurgence points? In all of the different detachments, I went over how to spend them. I also went over the different size of games and how to spend them. 6 resurgence points in 1,000 point games, 10 resurgence points in a 2,000 point game. Good. Good, as long as people saw that. I do like how all of your names are coming up in like purple and blue and green. Very Genestealer Cult colours. That's nice. 10 man for the Patriarch, 5 man to keep bringing back. Very good options. Even in like Biosanctum Brood Surge or the Final Day, I would say unit of 10 with the Patriarch, unit of 5 just infiltrating. But you can vary it depending on what you want from your detachment. Xenocreed Congregation. It's all about the Metamorphs. But actually it's going to be also about the Genestealers. I like being able to advance and charge from a resurgence marker, called ambush marker. Then we can come back in the enemy turn and then advance and charge in our coming turn. That's great. We are agreed then that the Genestealers are S tier for the Genestealer Cult. I would hope so. It would be awkward if the namesake was just bad. But we'll do our Kellermorph. There he is. Gunslinger. I'll put him there at the moment just so it's a nice column. The Kellermorph is the one with the gun and doesn't have a cowboy hat, even though you think he has cowboy hats. He's a lone operative, so he's a character that can perform actions and not likely to get shot. Also the Reductus can do this. Also the Sanctus can do this. I'm pretty sure the Kellermorph is not even the cheapest one. So our Kellermorph is 60 points. Thought he was 55. The Sanctus is 50 points. The Reductus Saboteur is 65. Can you spare 5 points for a Reductus Saboteur? I really hope you can, because they're better. They're the ones that can infiltrate. The Kellermorph can't infiltrate. The Kellermorph can deep strike, but if you wanted to have a character that's doing actions and can't be shot, the Sanctus is the cheapest one. Otherwise, our Kellermorph is... yeah, there's not a lot of things he can do. Certainly not things he can do better than the other characters. The pistols are 6 shots with devastating wounds, so you might get 1 devastating wound of damage 1. That's your odds. There's no way to up that. You can shoot an enemy, and if it's infantry, and if you hit it, then they have to take a battle shock test. It's not battle shocking them, but it might battle shock them. And you can move away if the enemy's within 9 inches, and you can shoot them when you do so. But you explicitly, with that, cannot embark inside a transport. Yeah, sniper's good for the reactive move. I prefer the sniper, generally. The knife is good for not being able to be hit by Overwatch, and then you can run into the middle of the board and do things in the middle of the board. Yeah, I mean, even the index version, I'm sure he was better in the index. Because you could drop him in, you could deep strike like 3 inches away from the enemy at the time, as long as you were also near to another Genestealer Cult infantry unit. So you could drop in loads of Neophytes and they do stuff. The Kellermorph drops in, completes an action on the objective. Yeah, the other characters are going to be way better. And he lacks infiltrate, and I don't know why. His reactive move is 9 inches, but the enemy could shoot him if they're within 12 inches. Yeah, the flat 6-inch reactive move of the sniper Sanctus is going to be better. But you can use the Kellermorph in boarding actions. The enemy comes down a corridor, you shoot them and then move away. That's about all you've got. Right, I think we're deciding the bottom tier. Used to be able to embark after shooting. Now, when it was just a normal move, you could. But I think explicitly it says in the hypersensory ability, because it's called hypersensory ability. So the hypersensory ability, you can shoot as if it's the shooting phase and then make a normal move of up to D6, but you cannot embark in a transport. Whereas the Sanctus sniper, I'm pretty sure they can. There's rarely a time you would want to. But yeah, that's just a normal move, and you can end a normal move in a transport. You can embark in a transport after a normal move. I'm going to say D tier. It doesn't actually have a cowboy hat. That's another reason to put them in D tier. Right, with so much talk about the Sanctus sniper as a good comparison, let's do the Sanctus. Because they can do the things that the Kellermorph would do, or that the Reductus Saboteur would do, but the Sanctus is 15 points cheaper. 50 points compared to 65 points. So if I'm on a budget army, I'll usually go for the Sanctus rather than not have anything. Because what else are you going to get? Like 50 point character in a unit? Like a Magus? Yeah, maybe you want that, but having more operatives doing stuff is usually better. They're not very good at the assassination thing. They have been useful. I've used them a few times. You can run at an enemy and don't bother about the precision, just stab the enemy and you get to wound them on a 3+, anti-infantry 3+ knife. And if you use the Psychic Spur on that unit, then you can reroll hit rolls and wound rolls. It's AP -2 dagger. The sniper rifle is okay. It's one shot hitting on a 3. You've got precision, you've got anti-psyker. If there's ever a psychic unit in the enemy army, that's going to be the Psychic Spur, and then you can reroll hit rolls and wound rolls. You can also pick Psychic Spur on like a light vehicle, like a Rhino. You'll wound them on a 5, but you've got the reroll, so you might be able to do 3 damage to them. The sniper is not really what we're caring about. It's the special abilities that come with it. Creeping Shadow, if you have a sniper, the enemy ends a move within 9 inches of you, and you make a move of 6 inches. Get the other side of a wall, get out of line of sight, get to where you can't be shot. Then in your next turn, you can step out and shoot the enemy, or do a thing while someone else kills the enemy that was nearby. Where did I rank things on the tiers? I said the A tier ones are generally good units with good use in most attachment. B tier is with the overshadowed units, where they work, but there's another unit that does it better. I think for what we're saying, A tier might be where it is. We'll go with A tier. So we need something for this B tier hole. Sabotage. Yeah, Sabotage lady. Oop. Well, if we're putting the Sanctus in A tier, I'm pretty sure the Reductus Saboteur goes in S tier. S for Saboteur. Reductus, right. So it's a character that can infiltrate. It's a character that has stealth. It's a character that has lone operative. It's a character that has about every ability and keyword you could possibly need. And some very good abilities. So very good. So very good. We have grenades for free. That's a very important one if we want to hurt things. We tend not to have very high strength attacks. The Abominant is probably what has the biggest strength attack. Or the Benefictus. Both strength 12. But we're talking characters then. There's not units packed with them. Grenades is what we use. You've also got the Demolition Charge. A good Demolition Charge because it hits on a 3+. You can combine that in Final Day or Brood Brothers Auxilia with their respective detachment rules to get another +1 to hit. So now you've got a Demolition Charge that hits on a 2+. Strength 9, AP -2, 2 damage. You can boost that AP with a Ridgerunner if you wanted. You've also got the remote explosives that you can fire at the same time as the Demolition Charge. They're indirect fire. If you can sit in the middle of no man's land and you can reach the enemy home objective, that's a great place to be hitting like Tau Fire Warriors, Kroot, cultists, Chaos Cultists, D6 +3 shots, indirect fire so you don't need line of sight, hitting on a 3 normally, so you're hitting on a 4 with indirect fire, and it's strength 5. So even like tougher things that are toughness 5, you could hurt. Or anything that's toughness 4, you can still hurt it. And then you've also got the planted explosive. So enemies move within 9 inches of her. If you can be on an objective and also out of line of sight, the enemy's gonna have to come onto that objective to claim it. And you can set off the bomb. Maybe you don't set it off for the Gretchen. That's sensible. That's what they want you to do. Kill them with something else with hand flamers, or with the remote explosives. And then when something of value, like Orc Boys, or Bikers, or a truck comes onto the objective, then you use the planted explosive, and on a 2+, D3 +3 mortal wounds. I don't think I've rolled a 1 for this ability, whereas everything else I have. Right, you've never done 3 Reductus Saboteurs, because you can only use one of the bombs once per turn. Yeah, and you can only use grenades once per turn. What you do when you have 3 of them is you can put one on an objective that's probably not going to get touched. If you have an objective marker that's closer than the other ones, put one there, put one in the middle of the board, and then you sort of rotate them in. You can have one start in your deployment zone and rotate them in. So turn 1, there's a problem for the enemy. Turn 2, there's another problem for the enemy, and you get to blow them up. Turn 3, you got another one, or turn 4. Yeah, so you've got to rotate them in and out. I usually take one because I'm in the habit of, it's like 9th edition, it works best. If there's one of every kind of super special character, then it's fun. Yeah, you can keep one in the truck. The important thing you can do with the truck is you could have a truck empty with the Reductus inside, and then get some Neophytes to sticky your home objective, then get the Neophytes into the truck and drive off. And you can keep shooting those indirect fire things. You can't use the demolition charge because you can't use one-shot weapons from the firing deck. Reductus Saboteurs going in and out of a truck. Oh yeah, I've also mentioned it in like all the Xenocreed videos. Many times has it come up as it's a good tactic that works. Unit gets out of truck, goes fights. Another unit that's not doing an action, not really going to have any impactful shooting, usually Neophytes, they can jump into the truck and then they're safe. Because you can advance and get into the truck. Then get out next time. Oh yeah, and then you're re-rolling all your wound rolls because of the truck. Alright, we're happy with the Reductus Saboteur in S tier. You can also just do actions. You don't need to do all these bomb things. You've got the reactive bomb if the enemy comes close, but yeah, just do your missions. It's a fantastic character. Rockgrinder. Okay, we've got quite a few for the Rockgrinder. The Rockgrinder has grown on me. A little bit. It's grown on me a little bit. The Rockgrinder is there that can transport... Are people just saying Rockgrinder because that came out relatively recently in the Combat Patrol magazine in the UK? Get your Rockgrinder. Well, we finished the Genestealer Cult stuff in the Combat Patrol magazine. £10 for the 5 bikers, otherwise they cost about £40 from Games Workshop. Or less if you go through my affiliates in the description. Yes, now we have a light tank. It's not really a tank. Oh yeah, you can definitely convert these up. It doesn't have to be grinding through tunnels like rock grinding. You could give it a snowplow. Oh yeah, and absolutely should magnetize these. Or for at least the gun on the truck or the rock grinder, you don't need to magnetize it. It just kind of slots in. So you can have a rock grinder or a truck very easily and switch between them. Yeah, there's quite a few weapons you can pick. We have, of course, big mining laser. Now, unfortunately, this is the exact same mining laser as the Achilles Ridgerunner has. So if you just want the heavy mining laser, take the Ridgerunner. It's going to be better. The Incinerator is a heavy flamer. Well, 2d6 heavy flamer. Strength 6, AP -1, 1 damage. Yeah, that's okay. People don't really go for the heavy seismic cannon. Regular seismic cannons tend to do the job. Or if you actually want to do more damage, rather than 4 shots going up to 6 shots, you've got D3 mining laser shots, but with blast, and higher strength, and higher AP, and more damage. And then you can fight off tanks. So the Incinerator or the mining laser is generally what people do. Does anyone take the seismic cannon? Maybe if you know... I mean, it's unfortunate it's not damage 2, it's damage D3. But if you knew, oh, I always face Space Marines, then you might want the seismic cannon. I don't know if you'd really want it in Host of Ascension. The problem is that vehicles don't do well in Host of Ascension. You've got to come from reserve. That's not quite the point of the vehicle. And while you can disembark with units that are inside the vehicle, they should also get the Host of Ascension bonus, or we have Deep Strike on all our infantry. Why would you be bringing them in from the side? It's quite good in the Outlander Claw and the Final Day, where you can use one of the stratagems in each to leave the board and come back on in like strategic reserves. And then you can shoot things from a better angle, maybe with Tyranids nearby. As a transport, I find the Rockgrinder isn't great. It's not a dedicated transport, so you can't scout with Metamorphs. But you could put 5 Acolytes with demolition charges, jump out, throw the demo charges, or you could protect and then speed forward some Aberrants. That can work in the Biosanctic Brood Surge. I know a lot of people are enjoying the Biosanctic Brood Surge. I don't think it really has the toughness to survive in most fights. If someone can kill a Rhino, they can kill this. It's toughness 10. That's only slightly tougher than a Rhino. I don't think it's running in and smashing stuff. Aberrant transport for 5 Aberrants in the Combat Patrol magazine? Yeah, they can go together quite well. If you have a combat ability that doesn't really care about the Goliath Truck in its ability to let you reroll the shooting shots, reroll wound rolls for shooting if you get out of a Goliath Truck, yeah, that's a perfectly fine thing to do. It's quite a few more points though. The Goliath Rockgrinder is 120 points. The only slightly weaker Goliath Truck is 85 points. We're talking 35 points difference. I think we're going to go with Oh, do we go with C tier or is B tier alright? No, I think we'll go with B tier, because they can work in more than one detachment. They work in the Outlander Claw, they're alright in Final Day, they like +1 to hit in combat. They work in the Biosanctic Brute Surge to transport more Aberrants together. Better than a Magus? Yeah, I think it's going to be B tier. So we'll leave them in B tier. Now, how do they compare to a standard Goliath? Very good question. Let's do the standard Goliath truck. You got to try all of the units to see where they actually fit and where they're going to be good, hypothetically. And then when some new detachment or something comes along, maybe in next edition, that's where you can say immediately, okay, I know the units that are going to be very useful for this right off because I know all of my I know all of my unit rules. Because the Goliath truck is toughness 9 rather than toughness 10. It can transport 12 models rather than 6 models. You got the demo charge cache. It's got blast though, so you can't use it if enemies are in engagement range. That's also a problem with the Rockgrinder. It hits on a 5+. It's not really super important. It's there to be kind of close to things and you throw it if you want. It's more than one use, so you can keep throwing this demo charge. That's good. You can keep a unit safe, you can rotate units in and out. Just sit on an objective with this truck. Unit gets in, it's safe-ish. At least it's not going to be destroyed this turn because they have to destroy the truck first. Usually that works. Then the unit gets out, and when they do, you get full rerolls to wound on their shooting attacks if the Goliath truck also shoots the same thing. You will need line of sight, of course, from both of them. That's usually not too difficult. Having it with Metamorphs who have hand flamers, this is my favourite place to put Metamorphs with hand flamers. Then you get full rerolls to wound. Acolytes with hand flamers already get reroll wound rolls of 1, or full rerolls to wound if attacking an enemy on an objective. So I don't bother putting them there. I find them much more useful to just drop in units of 5 with hand flamers. Neophytes can go inside, that's fine. You can put, say, the Reductus Saboteur inside, or the Benefictus inside, and keep using the firing deck. If you get Hazardous on the Benefictus's brain, the damage, the 3 wounds from Hazardous will go onto the truck rather than the Benefictus. Yeah, you can kind of block line of sight. Unfortunately, the way line of sight works, you can usually see, like, underneath the truck, because there is the slightest of tiniest of gaps. It can get in the way of stuff, physically. I think it's probably going to be another B tier. Yeah, it's alright. I mean, think of, say, rhinos in other factions' army. Everyone has a rhino. The Sisters have a rhino, all the Chaos factions have a rhino, the Space Marines have rhinos. I think the Custodes might have rhinos, or they do for the Sisters of Silence. Deathwatch have rhino, Imperial Agents have rhinos. Rhinos are fine and good. The truck is fine and good. It has an autocannon. It's a decent one. Slightly more expensive than rhinos. But yeah, okay, we'll put it in B tier. Aberrants. Aberrants. Alright, alright. Let's bring out the Aberrants. Now, I'm not just saying, oh, okay, the Magus is there as a benchmark. Anything else that goes here is as bad as a Magus. But they're about the same level. Or it could be there. We don't know yet. I'll put it there because then it's nicely filling in the set. Now, I'm generally down on Aberrants. They were exceptional in the index because they had damage 3. Whereas now they have damage 2. And we also have, say, Metamorphs that have damage 2. They're pretty tough. They can sort of function without an Abominant or a Biophagus, but you need a character to get their ability to work, which is -1 to be wounded. They can take some damage from small arms. Anything that's like damage 3, or especially damage 4, they melt. But they can take some damage. They can be annoying to kill. If you can get them into combat with an enemy that they can hurt, like any Space Marine unit, and the enemy can't really hurt them because they're trying to slap you down or punch you and they've got 3 attacks at strength 4, so they're wounding you on 5s, and then you get your 5-up save, maybe, and then you get a 5-up feel no pain. That's where you use them. You can put them in a transport. In the Biosanctic Brute Surge, you can infiltrate them. A squad of 5 is usually enough. You can do it with a squad of 10. But then you're risking 300, 400 points of your army getting tied up by something like 20 cultists, 20 termagants. Something that they can't smash through. Not quickly, because you're going to get an average of 2 successful hits per model. Then you'll get most of them wounding and killing the enemy. It's going to take you like 3 turns to get through the termagants. It's not great. And you probably aren't going to be the one that's charging them. So you'll miss at least, or maybe even if you are, then you're missing like 2 turns then. In the Biosanctic Brood Surge, you do get an extra attack. If you charge. Only on the turn you charge. If you don't get that charge, you don't get the extra attack. Because they're tough, you can sit on an objective, but I wouldn't sit on an objective with them. That's not what they do. And they're quite a lot of resurgence points. Slightly overpriced, I think we're right. +1 to hit from final day, basically as good as +1 attack. It is more general in the final day. So you can have reroll wound rolls, hyper ferocity. Yeah, if you're within 6 inches of Tyranids, you can reroll all the wound rolls. In the Biosanctum Brood Surge against vehicles, maybe also monsters. Let me have a look. Gene Twisted Muscle. Yeah, monsters or vehicles, you get +1 to wound. Both pretty good. I'm now very tempted to try them more often in the final day. I tend to stick with Big Hammer Lady, just Big Hammer Lady, don't bother with Aberrants. Hitting on a 2 can be quite good. Alternatively though, Metamorphs, damage 2, hitting on 2s. There's generally not much difference between strength 5 and strength 7. Oh, it'll matter for like a toughness 10 enemy. It'll matter if they are toughness 6. Otherwise, it tends not to matter too much. And remember, you can get 10 Metamorphs for the price of 5 Aberrants. Okay, I think we're going to have to go with C tier. It's for specific detachments. Yes, they can work in final day. There's many other things I want to work in final day, and because it's final day, and we're spending 40% of our points on Tyranids, just to make the detachment work well, there's not enough points for also Aberrants. So I think it's Biosanctum Brood Surge only. When I'm playing them, Biosanctum Brood Surge only. I'll try Aberrants in final day. In a bigger points game, probably. Toughness 5 elite infantry is everywhere. I mean, Orcs can be toughness 5, Votan are toughness 5. I'm trying to think of other things that are toughness 5 and elite. And then, even then, I would rather have twice as many models making twice as many attacks. And then I can get through them. But yeah, they'd be especially good against the Terminators, because you can knock their 2+ save onto their invulnerable save. Whereas Metamorphs can only get -1. Nope, that's where I'm sticking them. You can protest in the comments all you like. I'm just not a Biosanctum Brood Surge person either. Right, Acolytes with mining tools. Which saw have we gone for today? There's the saw. Buzz. I usually use these as a combat attacking unit in squads of 10. Other people stick with units of 5, then you can use their ability to, like, mine for command points. You're on an objective you control. It's the end of the command phase, yeah. Roll a dice, on a 4+, you gain a command point. You can only gain 1 extra command point per battle round, and you can't do this in the first turn if you go first. No one owns that yet until the end of the first phase, so you can't use Claimed for the Cult in the first turn if you go first. I like them because they're damage 3, and they're strength 5. This is what I use for cutting up Terminators. I know it's only 2 attacks, but you're hitting on 3s, strength 5, AP -2, 3 damage, and there's anti-vehicle 4+ if you want to go for vehicles. I sometimes do indeed want to go for vehicles, especially in the Xenocreed congregation, especially in final day. All rerolls to wound? Yes, please. We'll get that anti-vehicle and we'll automatically wound that toughness whatever Titan even on a 4+. That's fun, cutting apart Titans. 60 Acolytes could be good. Yeah, I wish they had anti-monster as well, but apparently those are totally different things. They're very nice to get an extra attack with the Biophagus in the Biosanctum Brood Surge, or in the Xenocreed congregation, one of the stratagems gives you an extra attack and extra weapon skill. I think AP -2 is good enough. Generally good enough. Right, I see, there's a safety mechanism, so if they hit flesh it automatically stops. Makes sense. And you've got to try and override that and hold the override button while you're also sawing. Okay, I get it, that's why it only works on vehicles. Even though that could be a, like, bone saw. An industrial meat cutter. So this is a unit I use in combat instead of Aberrants. Metamorphs, damage 2, more attacks. Yeah, that's good. And hand flamers as well. But I really like the mining tools. A unit of 10 can have 6 mining tools that can mess people up. In any detachment you could add a Primus. Good place for a Primus. Always have +1 to hit. I just wish that they had the other Acolytes ability, the reroll wound rolls all the time. That's a good one. It was really fun in the index when other people were throwing bombs all the time. I was saying, what about the mining tools though? Full rerolls to wound? Damage 3? Yeah? I think they're an A tier unit. Unless you want to put them in S tier because you always want them all the time. I can make it through a game without them, as long as I've got Neophytes, as long as I've got other things. Like if I had Metamorphs and Neophytes, I can do without these Acolytes. There's some health and safety in the Imperium, on some worlds, some of the time, in some places. Yeah, we'll go with an A tier. because I don't think you're going to have them in every list every time. You might. Now, they're generally good units, and you get good use out of them in most attachments. I think they're a perfect A tier. Otherwise, it's nice to have a small squad of 5. How come they do more damage than a Power Fist? Oh, you know, because we're cutting apart vehicles. But we only get 2 attacks, whereas the Terminators with their Power Fists, which is strength 8, it's a higher strength. It's different. It's different. Okay, Clamavus. God, Clamavus. Some of you have watched this channel before. You know what the Clamavus does to me. Clamavus. Bam. Right. Okay. They're fine if you face a lot of deep striking units. Or you could just have 10 Neophytes spread out, and then the enemy can't deep strike near you. But a 12-inch area of orb, no deep striking here, can be useful if you are continually used to having 5 Acolytes on your home objective, and then Seraphim keep dropping in all of the time. Maybe switch those Acolytes to Neophytes, and then you can spread them out in a bigger area. And there's more bodies so you don't just get instantly killed by Seraphim. Have you considered that instead of a Clamavus? When the teleporting Necrons were very scary, the Hypercrypt Legion, then people were taking the Clamavus, but once the 3-inch Deep Strike disappeared from the rules, it was only 6-inch Deep Strike, fewer and fewer people are ever considering the Clamavus. Is there a reason to take the Clamavus? Makes a lot of noise, annoys me. I can see those being valid complaints that people have and also reasons to take them. Tiny Bluetooth speaker and have him playing Camilla dancing. Yeah. Yeah. Against Grey Knights? Yeah, could do. Grey Knights are unfortunately particularly good against us. They don't have anything higher than Strength 10, but we don't have anything higher than Toughness 10. Am I including the Rockgrinder in that? No, the Tectonic Fragdrill is 11. Toughness 11. Needed for the after party? Good, then make the model and leave it for the after party. Put him on when you're counting up the victory points at the end. I think you have enough units to screen without needing them. All the characters that are in No Man's Land, the infiltrating units, the scouting units, you can generally stop turn 1 deep strikes. Yeah, and if the Custodes are doing things, sure, they're not going to be able to charge you that turn, but then they will. So if you have a particular weakness for the Custodes Terminators, you could have the Clamavus on your home objective if the terrain you're playing on means that they're very easily out of line of sight. Otherwise, something very fast can fly around and kill him very quickly. He does the job of being a body for the roster of new players to experiment with. Yeah, can do. He's one of the characters I also suggest converting rather than buying. It's nothing particularly interesting. There's plenty of guys have a stick or a staff, or just have an auto pistol and a fancy head and holding some kind of console in the other hand, and then it should be fine. It's D tier. Everything else in the Genestealer Cult army does very similar things. Right. So who are we doing next? Neophytes, the most basic of the fights. They're very useful. In the Brood Brothers Auxilia, you can take units like the Krieg, but don't take the Cadians, because Neophytes do what Cadians do, but Neophytes can get more things from the detachment rules, the Brood Brothers Auxilia, and you can bring them back with resurgence points. And they got pistols. Other units don't get pistols as standard. Don't forget to fire your pistols. Will your Neophyte mining laser ever hit? Sometimes in like Host of Ascension, I've just fired that, rolled a 6, oh wait, that's 2 hits, oh wait, that's a lethal hit and another one, oh that's wounded as well, great, I've just killed the thing I was going to kill with the entire 20 squad. The other 19 Neophytes don't need to shoot. The Neophytes can kill 20 light infantry with very little extra help needed. You get sticky objectives, I think that's useful, where other people are putting Acolytes on their home objective to try and mine for it, and then they're saying there, I put Neophytes there. Then if you're playing something like Supply Drop where you don't need your own home objective, it's sticky there if we need it for something like Defend Stronghold, and then you can move into the center. I'm always wanting like a squad of 10. Host of Ascension, very good in squads of 20. The Xenocreed Congregation. Neophytes work surprisingly well in Xenocreed. Surge move into enemies. Have an Iconward with them, then they have a 5+ Feel No Pain. Have the Denunciator of Tyrants. Shoot a character unit and you get +1 to hit and +1 to wound. Now you're going to hit with your mining laser? Maybe. In the Outlander Claw, have a squad of 10 of them in a truck. Then get out and do missions and things. Use them to hold objectives in the Biosanctuary Brood Search, especially if you're spending a lot of points on expensive Aberrants. Do all the missions. Enemies have to kill all 10 of them or all 20 of them in one go, otherwise you're going to regenerate. It's very hard to cut through them. And with the Host of Ascension and the Final Day, you can return to the Shadows. Although it's not called Return to the Shadows in Final Day, it's Resistance Tunnels in Final Day. Go back into reserves, jump back out, especially in the Host of Ascension. Return to the Shadows, come back, you get the detachment rule again, you get any enhancements like the chink in their armor. If there's a character in the unit using that, go again. You can have 120 Neophytes with your Brood Brothers Auxilia. Yeah, you could do all Neophytes and then tanks. Or you could do all Neophytes and all Death Corps of Krieg. And then you can play 200 bodies. Necessary and important? I think they're very important. Some other people are like, don't need Neophytes. Take Acolytes instead. No, I don't think so. Tie up the enemy in Xenocreed, tie up the enemy in any detachment. Oh, you can't kill all of us at once? Charge. You're gonna not do anything on your next turn. Yeah, I think these are S tier. I'm always having Neophytes. Whatever the detachment, let's stick some Neophytes in there. Right, who are we saying next? So the Primus. Now the Primus has changed since we did one of these tier lists before. They no longer give full rerolls to hit, it's +1 to hit to the unit. Which is something we can get in quite a few detachments, like the Final Day, like the Brood Brothers Auxilia, like with enhancements in the Host of Ascension and enhancements in the Xenocreed Congregation. So, it's an unfortunate change. Reroll hit rolls of 1 was right there, we could have had that instead, I would have preferred that. But no matter, they're good for the redeployability. 3 of your units can be moved into reserves at the start of the game. You can go over the reserves limit for that. That's especially good for the Host of Ascension. Or you can, when you redeploy things, redeploy infiltrators. I've mentioned already that having 10 Purestrain spread across the middle of the battlefield, the enemy cannot infiltrate there, then you redeploy them to somewhere useful, like onto an objective at the side or behind cover so they can't be shot or charged in the first turn. But the speed of the Genestealer Cult, well, the speed of the pure strains of the Genestealer Cult means you move 8, advance, and then charge. Yeah, there's not really a reason to take more than 1, because that redeployability can only be used once. And then 1 unit gets +1 to hit. So it's good with combat acolytes or 20 neophytes. You could do it with demo charge acolytes, but they're mostly hand flamers anyway. Good with neophytes in the Host of Ascension. +1 to hit, sustained hits, give them a chink in our armor. Chink in their armor, not in our armor, in their armor. So you've got sustained hits, lethal hits, +1 to hit, ignore cover when you arrive from reserve. It is not as good as full rerolls, we know this, but they're pretty good generally to put enhancements on. They're a key leader in the Xenocreed Congregation, so they can take those enhancements. Deeds of Speak to the Masses, why not? If you're using him for a background ability of redeploying units, also have Deeds of Speak to the Masses to get 2 more resurgence points. There's maybe the Biosanctic Brood Surge, Final Day. You don't necessarily need them, especially because the Biosanctic Brood Surge, you're going to want a Biophagus instead for any unit that can really have them. In the Final Day, you got +1 to hit in a lot of places. I can't think there's a special use for them in Outlander Claw, because you're not putting them with big squads of like 20 Neophytes. You could put them with 10 Metamorphs, but then you can't scout. You could put them with 10 Acolytes in a truck. Yeah, that can work, that can work. In Biosanctic Brood Surge, you still want the redeploy, it's too valuable. Yes, and in Biosanctic Brood Surge, you also have an extra infiltrating unit with one of the enhancements. Fair enough. Redeploy is really good. Might seem, I think, A tier still. I know he's dropped down a bit and there's a lot of times like, I don't really need you. I can get away without you. Okay, I'll say A tier. They're good, they work in most attachments. We'd want them. Right, did we say Iconward next? Iconward. Just put the Iconward there for the moment. Oh my, the big flag man. Acolyte Iconward, to give them their full name. It's the Battle Standard Bearer. It's a Feel No Pain, 50 points. So, while you can put them on Acolytes, and then, like Metamorphs, they have a 5+ Feel No Pain. Or you can put them with Metamorphs, and then they have a 4+ Feel No Pain. The place you put them is with Neophytes. 20 Neophytes can hold an objective forever with a 5+ Feel No Pain. A tier may indeed be where they go. As soon as you've got 20 Neophytes, you're thinking, do I want an Iconward? There's a lot of enhancements you can enhance them with. The Xenocreed enhancements. Give them Denunciator of Tyrants, +1 to hit and wound on everything in the unit. Well, then we're better than a Primus. The Brood Brothers Auxilia. There's the, I think it's Hero Returned, extra objective control and bonus leadership. unlikely to be battle shocked. They're like leadership 5 Neophytes then. We don't need them all the time in every detachment, yeah, but they're really good, really valuable. You're not gonna die with one. 20 Neophytes with Feel No Pain is indeed brutal. You have to put so many units into it, and that means you're tying up a lot of the enemy, and while you're tying them up, other parts of your army are free to score victory points or close in to kill the enemy. And if the enemy doesn't kill them, and they're not gonna, then our icon can regenerate 3 models or D3 plus 3 models if we're on an objective, and we should be. I think the only problem I've had with this combo is if you cannot get onto one of the objectives, like you're blocked from it, and so they're not regenerating as much, they're not scoring you points, they're just there. And the Metamorphs, they're an okay place to put them there. I don't think the 4+ Feel No Pain is doing anything especially good compared to a 5+ Feel No Pain, but it's a character that can scout with them. So in Xenocreed, Incendiary Inspiration, then you can advance and charge. It's the advance and charge detachment. And then you got a 4+ Feel No Pain, and you can scout all together. I'm happy to boost them up to A tier. I think I've had them in B tier before. I know they're trying to get you to put the Iconward with the Metamorphs, with the boosted Feel No Pain, with Scout, but I don't think it works as well as just Neophytes. So I'm happy to put them in A tier. Very useful character. And when it comes to a 50-point character you're adding on to enhance the unit in some way, maybe if it's Acolytes or Metamorphs, I'll say Biophagus or Locus. Neophytes, definitely A tier. And when we're making one of our best units better, that's a good choice. And it's very applicable to pretty much all the detachments. Now who are we going to do? We have Jackal Alphus. Yeah, I'm happy to do the Jackal Alphus. Ooh, let's pop them there for the moment. The Jackal Alphus doesn't have to lead units. You never have to lead a unit. It's not like in Age of Sigmar where you have formations. So if you have this character, then you can take these units. It's kind of part of what put me off the current edition of Age of Sigmar. Being, oh, well, I have that character, but I don't have any of the units they go with. Or I have the unit, but I don't have the character I need to unlock them, and so they're like an extra unit, and then they don't get as many bonuses, and oh, that's an extra drop, and so I don't get to decide who goes first. And, I like the way current 40k has force organization done. 3 of every unit, with exceptions like Epic Heroes, there's only 1 of them, and also you can have up to 6 of the trucks, the dedicated transports, and the battle line units. And it's reduced if you're using the mission deck and you're playing Incursion. If you're playing Crusade at 1,000 points, you can still have up to 6 Neophyte units, if you wanted. Now the Jackal Alphus, I've tried it quite a few times alone, but you don't have Lone Operative. What you have is Shoot and Scoot. So you can fire and then hide behind a wall. That's fine, that's fine. You've also got not much else. Well, there's no Lone Operative, so they're not as good as like a Sanctus. Their sniper rifle is also not as good as the Sanctus's sniper. So even if you can shoot, there's no good follow-up damage. What you do if you hit the enemy, and only if you hit the enemy, and it's 1 shot on a 3+, so you can't count on it, in like the Brood Brothers Auxilia, in Host of Ascension, in Final Day, you can hit an enemy and then you get to reroll hit rolls of 1. That is just shooting attacks, I think. Yeah, it is, because it's until the end of the phase. So you can't hit them and then suddenly Aberrants are rerolling hit rolls of 1. No, it's just to the end of the phase. You can put them with the bikes, and if you're playing Outlander Claw, this could be a very useful Warlord. Thank you very much, Ashley. Yeah, I try and be very useful for Genestealer Cult players that are just getting in there. Because if I don't explain it as if you're new, that means that even people who have been playing 40k for like 15 years, they've been going since, 5th edition, continually, but they've never played Genestealer Cult. How are they going to get in? Which is also why I did things like, even though it didn't perform well, it's a very useful video on how the basic resurgence points work and what the best thing is. Yes, Jackal Alphus, I wish they did something better. So they're a decent character to lead the Outlander Claw, or you could have like a Reductus Saboteur in a vehicle. Or you could have a Sanctus Sniper. Yeah, their reroll hit rolls of 1 doesn't apply to the Jackal squad that they're leading, because it's after the unit is shot. Yeah, after this model's unit is shot, then anyone else attacking them gets to reroll hit rolls of 1. So you can't be especially good with shooting for like the grenade launcher or the mining laser of the Jackal Biker squad. Oh yes, also, they are not a Jackal Biker model. They are a Jackal Alphus, which is different, so they don't count as part of the demolition run. So if you have a Jackal Alphus and 5 Jackal Bikers, you only roll 5 dice for demolition run, not 6. It's not all models in the unit. it's Jackal biker models in the unit. And I know you share keywords, but when it specifies models, it just means those particular models with the keyword, not shared keywords. Yeah, reroll hit rolls of 1 is fine if you can hit. You hit on a 3+. I'm wondering if we should put this guy in D tier, or lady. I think it's meant to be a sniper lady. Trying to push you towards shooting, but actually loses in shooting. Yeah. Useful for doing actions for cheap. However, characters like the Sanctus sniper is cheaper, and has lone operative, and has deep strike, and infiltrate, rather than scout. C tier is only good in 1 detachment-ish. I think I'm going to have to drop them into D tier. I don't recommend including them. You can make them work, they can do things. However, there are many other optional units you may want to pick that can do the thing you want to do better. And if you're wanting to support your troops, a Ridgerunner is going to do it better than a one-shot hitting on a 3+, then you reroll hit rolls of 1. Right, let's go with the Benefictus. I'm not a big fan of the Benefictus, although I use a Benefictus in the Host of Ascension. Although now we have the Crucible of Champions, I don't need a Benefictus, because one of the characters, they have the Benefictus ability, you get lethal hits at range. That's what we want. And then Las Cannon Brain, it's a one-shot Las Cannon. It can be a 2-shot Las Cannon, but then you get Hazardous, and the Benefictus only has 3 wounds, so if you fail that Hazardous test, you die. I am told that some people used to put their Benefictus in the middle of a unit, but if they die from Hazardous, then you're going to lose half the unit because you're then out of coherency at the end of the turn. Uh-oh. Lethal hits at range is pretty good. One-shot Las Cannon, 70 points. If you're playing the Brood Brothers Auxilia, you can have Las Cannon teams. That's 3 Las Cannons. Good in Final Day with sustained hits enhancement and 20 Neophyte brick. Sounds like you're trying to play Host of Ascension there. But without the ignore cover part. I'm glad there's someone looking out for the Brood Brothers Auxilia. That's fun. Try the Benefictus Battle Boss. That's where you put 3 Benefictus, maybe in the Outlander Claw. Then you can have the Cartographic Data Leech enhancement. So everyone inside gets +1 ballistic skill when they're using the firing deck. So then you can have 6 shots hitting on a 2+, and that only costs you about 300 points for essentially a Rhino firing 6 las cannons. And once the Rhino, Goliath Truck transport is destroyed, then you've got 3 guys. And you only get the lethal hits while leading a unit. I think it's a Host of Ascension only. Oh, if you're with Acolytes with Hand Flamers and Demolition Charges, if you fail the Hazardous test on the Benefictus, you can make one of the Acolytes with Demo Charges fail the test for you. Even if you haven't fired that bomb. That's just the way the Hazardous works nowadays. It's strange. Oh yeah, they also have a useless ability. You can change your 5+ invulnerable save on the model to a 4+ invulnerable save for a phase. For just one phase. And just that model. No one else. So it's not even as good as like the Adeptus Sororitas Cannes, who as a model gets a 2+ invulnerable save. No. They're going to be C tier, because I think they're only really good in the Host of Ascension. And while you can get them to work in Final Day, and then you can have, +1 to hit, and lethal hits, and sustained hits with an enhancement, and lethal hits. There'd be no ignores cover, but you could get that with a Ridgerunner. That's a good set of combo stuff, but you need to have a Ridgerunner do stuff, and you need to get a Tyrannid unit nearby. Host of Ascension, you don't need to do that. You just turn up. And with being able to return to the shadows and come back again, lethal hits, sustained hits, ignore cover over and again. So Host of Ascension only, I think. Yeah, you need to be psychic to know when to use that boosted invulnerable save. While the Final Day has its resistance tunnel to go up and down, you don't get any extra benefit from coming back up and down. Whereas in the Host of Ascension, you get the detachment rule again when you do it. I've already done the Locus. That's in A tier, second one from the left. Oh no, wait, I haven't done the Locus. Locus is our assassin person. I'm obviously talking about a totally different assassin. Whoops! How could I possibly get our many Genestealer Cult character assassins confused? Let's do the Locus. I like a Locus. Other people don't necessarily like a Locus. I've seen them put really low down. Like here, oh, you never use them. They're the cheapest for a reason. Or here, like, oh yeah, maybe sometimes. I'm looking at more like here. It's fight first. Don't underestimate fight first. Our units are incredibly squishy. Acolytes, 1 wound, toughness 4, 5+ save. If you can get to fight with them, which is what we want to do before they die, that's incredibly valuable. So I think Locus is great. Now, if I'm doing a shooting detachment, let's say the Host of Ascension is more general, but Brood Brothers Auxilia, Outlander Claw, maybe not, or maybe yes. Maybe yes and maybe no. In the Biosanctuary Brood Surge, I'll want a Biophagus, because you can't double up with a Biophagus and a Locus. It's just the one. The Locus does have a bodyguard ability, so if you had a Primus in the same unit, you can give them a better Feel No Pain temporarily while the unit is there and alive that will help against, say, precision attacks. And if the entire unit was wiped out apart from the 2 characters, that Feel No Pain will last until the enemy unit that wiped you out has finished doing its shooting. Then you split into 2 separate units. Then your Feel No Pain bodyguarding does nothing. So I generally ignore that and look entirely at the fight first. It's fight first on themselves. It's one of the rare cases where, while it says while leading a unit, models in the unit have fight first, they also have fight first as a core ability. So they always fight first even when alone. And it's a decent profile. 5 attacks, strength 5, AP 2, damage 2. That's close to Patriarch level. On a toughness 4, 3 wound character with an invulnerable save. And they always have the invulnerable save. Whereas someone like the Judicia for the Space Marines only gets the invulnerable save while in melee. Are we better? The model is so distinct. How could you? Yeah, look at this Locus. If you didn't have the massive Genestealer Cult symbol right on his back, right there, you wouldn't know he was a Genestealer Cult character, who is also an assassin. He's one of those guys we didn't need. Like the Benefictus, just make the Magus better. Just give the abilities of this Benefictus to the Magus. Forget the invulnerable save thing and give them mind control still. Wow, that is definitely a 70 or 80 point character. Locus, hey, just say the Sanctus gets fight first and the unit they're with gets fight first, or you have lone operative. It's so strange they've just gone, okay, we need to have 20 characters and they each need to do half of what another faction's character can do. Yeah, only 1 Locus, because the value of fight first goes down when you have 2. Because if both your fight first units got charged, the enemy is charging you, so they are fight first, and it alternates. You do 1 fight first unit, they do 1 fight first unit, you do 1 fight first unit. Oh wait, that Locus I was going to do is dead, because they got attacked by the enemy that had fight first. Yeah, it alternates back and forth with the fight firstiness, but it starts with us when it's not our turn. I think they're pretty good. Let's say, I think A tier. Yeah, we'll go with A tier. They're very useful. Make Acolytes good, make Metamorphs good. You surge into an enemy and someone else charges you, you still fight first. Just waiting for the motorbikes to pass. The Jackal bikers are out. Okay, we'll do the Patriarch. So, Patriarch. I've also just released a short about the Patriarch. We have a lot of power from a Patriarch. Biosanctuary Brood Surge. Then we have an enhancement to get an extra point of AP and an extra point of damage. Consistent damage 3. What do other things not have? When it's random damage, like on the Rockgrinder, with its random damage seismic cannon, or we have damage 3 but only on Acolytes. Yeah, maybe not going to hit, maybe not loads of attacks. Patriarch can have that. Final day, very good. Then we have a stratagem that lets you fully reroll wound rolls. You have devastating wounds on your Genestealers, and your Patriarch always has devastating wounds on their own weapons. That can be a lot of damage in the final day when you're rerolling all wound rolls. Or Biosanctuary Brood Surge. If they're with Genestealers, only if they're with Genestealers, they get the detachment rule to have an extra attack. I've seen people run them alone, because then you get to use their toughness of 5. It's not that much better than the toughness 4 of the Genestealers. They also tend not to hold up to much. Battle shocking things. Cosmic Horror is an ability. Enemies within 6 inches have to take a battle shock test at the start of each and every fight phase. You don't need to be in engagement range. It's not pick an enemy unit in 6 inches or pick an enemy unit in engagement range. Every enemy in 6 inches does it. And you can spend your familiar, and then once per battle, every enemy unit within 12 inches takes a battle shock test. Do that in, say, their turn, and then they're not going to be fighting you to control objectives in your turn. They can't use stratagems in your turn, and they only recover at the start of their next turn. If you do it in your own turn, hey, you know, it keeps working. You don't need to spend anything other than that familiar to keep it going. But if they're battle shocked in your turn, they're going to recover at the start of their next turn. He's at the best during final day. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Sustained hits in final day. I do like that one. I think you'll see it in the final day video. I've been pairing them with Von Ryan's Leapers, because Von Ryan's Leapers have Heroic Intervention for free and Fight First, and they infiltrate, so they go together. Enemy tries to charge us immediately, Von Ryan's come in, we can get rid of the enemy, usually, and there's a unit there to give them +1 to hit if they needed it, they hit on a 2+, and also full rerolls to wound stratagem. And sustained hits, yeah, you need to have a Tyranid unit nearby. Or we can have the You're Not Allowed to Overwatch me. Then you can just rush towards the enemy. You can say, oh, that's a nice platoon of Imperial Guardsmen you've got there. It'd be a shame if someone had a lot of attacks at AP -2. I've battle shocked like Imperial Knights as well, so it's like, I go on this objective, I'm objective control 8. I battle shock you. Oh no. Yeah, I really like that. I know people are like, battle shock, it relies on leadership tests. How many leadership tests are you making them take? How many units are you battle shocking, potentially? It's like a mini Shadow in the War, but all of the time. Each player's turn. No command reroll, no insane bravery, because it's not the right turn for this. You can never command reroll a leadership test, and insane bravery is only used in the command phase. I think... Now, it's not going to be seat. I know there's like those 2 good detachments. The Biosanctic Brood Surge, the Final Day. That's not like one good detachment. I think they're maybe overshadowed. It's the only character that can lead Genestealers. I do generally like them for messing people up. You could rapid ingress them in like the Host of Ascension, and then charge in the coming turn, and then you also get sustained hits. You could have them hiding in a truck. In the index, no, you can't have a Patriarch in a truck. Now you can. Yeah, I think I've talked myself into at least B tier. I won't want them in every detachment. They are underrated for what they do. Patriarch's good. Patriarch's good. Yeah, we'll go with B tier. So you can get away without a Patriarch, but the Patriarch is good. If you look in the description, there are many, many things in the description. There's a link to affiliates where you can get cheaper Games Workshop things. There's a affiliate link for Conflict 47 and Bold Action things. There's a discount code and a link to Golden Maple brushes if you want brushes, and loads of other products like the magnetic clip set. When I'm putting models together, I'll have the pieces on the table, and sometimes I've knocked them all over the floor and they've gone everywhere, and then they're not in the right groupings anymore. But with a clip set, you can put the pieces on the clips, you can put them in a group together so you know which bits are going with which model. You can paint them and glue them and keep them held together, especially if they're metal models. You don't need to hold the metal pieces together in your hands for half an hour. They're bendable arms so you can control the posing, and they're magnetic. You can attach them to any metal surface, including the box that it comes with. It's already available at a discount at the moment, and if you use the code Vtuber, that's even more of a discount. That's probably the best discount code there is for Golden Maple brushes. Oh yes, and there's also a Ko-fi link. That's where at least 3 very nice people have dropped money at me today. I am in very much a Genestealer Cult mood at the moment. Get all the Genestealer Cult videos done, and then we'll see how everything changes, and just... Don't do it, Games Workshop. Don't be like, we have to go back to formula. Back to formula? Do you know how much I've sacrificed? Back to formula? No, you better not. You better not. Do you see how green my eyes are? It's goblin green. So I'm hoping for compatibility with 11th edition and 10th edition in some ways. Oh, what's that? We're doing the Nexus. All right. Nexus. The man who books the table. And he's like, my friends are going to be here soon. It's not just me booking a table. Right, the Nexus. So he's all about getting cheaper stratagems, which means you have to put him in a unit, and he's only going to be good if you have good stratagems in that detachment. So you don't want him in the Brood Brothers Auxiliary. Host of Ascension is the most obvious place. You're throwing out a lot of stratagems. So if you want to have the resources for tunnel crawlers, for primed and readied, for Return to the Shadows, for anything else, and you can put enhancements on him. A lot of things you can do with the Nexus in the Host of Ascension. Yeah, Nexus is how I think I look planning out my next turn of 40k. Yeah, he's also meant to be unusually old. Like, so much mind power is going into him that it ages him. Okay, that's a weird trait to put in the lore. Oh yeah, they're all just really old. Huh. You've learned many a thing about the Genestealer cult over the last few years. Ah, thank you very much. I'm trying to think of other detachments where you'd use them. Maybe in Final Day. Hey, Resistance Tunnels is now free. Great. We can use that on some Neophytes. You're not really getting anything else much out of them there. In the Xeno Creed, yeah, you could pop up with... Okay, you can't have any enhancements in Xeno Creed. They're on other characters. Good stratagems, but you don't really be pushed towards the enemy. You could let the units advance and charge. Any character in an Acolyte, Neophyte, or Metamorph unit lets the unit reroll advance rolls and reroll charge rolls, and then there's stratagems to let you advance and charge. When the Primus became not so good, when they lost the rerolls, then I was like, okay, how about a chink in their armor on a Nexus? And that's generally what I've done. What I had done in a tournament list was took out the Nexus, added in another Biophagus, but now I'm swapping the Primus for the Nexus, so I've got a Nexus and a Biophagus. That's what I have in my best Host of Ascension list. It is a shame that the rules and the abilities don't quite seem to match a guy standing at the back. He should be the one redeploying people. The Primus should be the one that gives you cheaper stratagems. That would be better. Oh yeah, the thing that Nix is saying. Nexus. That Nexus is saying about the Nexus. And it's something I mentioned in my video, How to Fix the Genestealer Cult Codex. He gets to move cult ambush markers around. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. What if we got to move one of them? Just put them somewhere else. That would be better. I would like that better. But the Nexus's ability suggests you should put them in a unit, which doesn't seem to work so well. So with their, they're kind of okay for one of their abilities. It's 50 points for a cheaper stratagem per turn. Especially good if you have a 2 command point stratagem, and the Host of Ascension has 2 of them, primed and readied, and coordinated trap, both 2 command points. I think they might be C tier because they're good in that one detachment. In the Host of Ascension, are you taking them anywhere else? Which unit are you going to have them join in, like the Biosanctic Brood Surge? Something that should have a Biophagus. And you can't have both a Nexus and a Biophagus in the same unit. Outlander Claw, well, you spend your stratagems on vehicles and the bikes, not on infantry units. You can have free grenades somewhere. Okay. Nah. You just use a Reductus Saboteur instead. There's free grenades. So they're a good one for Host of Ascension. Ridgerunner seems a good one to do. Why am I putting them there? We know they go up there. Ridgerunner, the running off the ridges. And what does the Ridgerunner have? What ability is it in the core? They have Scout. People didn't know they have Scout. Yeah, Ridgerunners can Scout. They have lots of things. You can give them free smoke screen with the flare launcher, then they get the smoke keyword, and smoke screen gives you the benefit of cover and -1 to be hit. There's a spotter that changes your ballistic skill to a 3+. Because we're changing the ballistic skill, that is different to +1 to hit. You need to understand that is different to +1 to hit. You cannot have +1 to hit and another +1 to hit, so you cannot have a Primus giving you +1 to hit and also the Final Day detachment rule giving you +1 to hit. You cap out at +1 to hit. You don't get +2 to hit. But the Ridgerunner changing their ballistic skill to 3+, and then getting the Final Day +1 to hit, now you hit on a 2+, whereas otherwise you would hit on a 4+. That is allowed. That works. You got the Survey Auger that lets you ignore cover. Very useful considering how very, very dense terrain is in this edition. I even take a Survey Auger in the Host of Ascension detachment, where we get ignores cover on our attacks when we come from reserves, because there's going to be a turn after that. We've got the Crossfire rule, of course, which is the most important one. You hit an enemy with any of your guns. Could be with the Twin Heavy Stubbers, could be with a Mine Laser, could be an indirect fire mortar. And that enemy unit, anyone that's Genestealer Cult that attacks that enemy unit, gets an extra point of armor penetration for the rest of the turn. That is the shooting phase, that is the fight phase. Yes, you don't have to scout with them. I know people forgot they have scout because you rarely scout with them. It's just useful to hide early game. You can go really, really fast with them. You can get those angles and go right up to the enemy and blow up their tanks that are waiting to go forward. You can have 2 of them in a unit and then go and shoot the enemy transport that's waiting in an alleyway or like a path of ingress. An area where they could actually move forward, considering the amount of terrain most people have on the table. They're very fast. Yeah, they're moving 12 inches. They're not the toughest, they're toughness 7 and 8 wounds, but as I found out recently, which was important, they're objective control 3. Many other transports, like a Rhino transport, is objective control 2. You can outscore some enemies. I don't think anyone picks the missile launcher. which is 3 shot, strength 9, -2 AP, and 3 damage. That feels like someone's going, I think we're missing something here. Like, there should be an extra part of it. Like, it should have an alternate fire mode if it's a missile launcher. Yeah, very good in Outlander Claw. You got smoke for free. There's a few stratagems they can use, not all the stratagems. You've got, in 4+ invulnerable save from deft maneuvering. That only works in the shooting phase. And yeah, you've got the free smoke, so they can be very annoying to get rid of. You've got reactive move, rapid feint. You can move 6 inches if the enemy comes within 9. Go and hide, make a charge harder. But yeah, the missile launcher feels like it needs a blast part of the missile. Otherwise, it's 3 shots compared to the mining laser's D3 shots, and the mining laser is better in every way. The mining laser might indeed get 4 or 5 shots because of blast. And the heavy mortar there for indirect fire, that's just for putting the crossfire ability anywhere on the board. 48-inch range is usually one side, like one corner almost to the other corner. You can run 6 in Brood Brothers. Yeah, that could work. If you shoot the enemy with an Imperial Guard unit, though there's a lot of restrictions on that, then they get +1 to hit. Then if you got the spotter, mining lasers, I'm hitting on 2s with so many shots. The missile launcher is the coolest looking weapon. I like the mining laser. I also like the mortar. I think it's pretty good. Yeah, you want at least one. I can't think of a time you wouldn't want one. I don't want to build... I can't build lists without them, but you feel like you're missing something. I know we can build characters with the Crucible of Champions. Can we get rules for vehicles? We need more technicals that can fire 6 missiles. Yeah. Oh, I like that. If you can get any toy car and put on one of the spare guns from the Ridgerunner, then put it on the appropriately sized base, and it works perfectly. You can very much get 3 Ridgerunners worth of bits out of a Ridgerunner and 2 toy cars. And I think you get a Ridgerunner in the combat patrol, in the current combat patrol. Yeah, you get a Ridgerunner. And some bikes. And like 10 Acolytes / Metamorphs. The only real anti-tank, because the mining laser. Yeah. And this is now the Fast and the Furious. And we need to have the mining laser for the Furious part. So good, all detachments, because it helps your shooting, because it helps your combat. Yeah, they're an S tier unit. Next unit. How about we do the Acolytes? Slide in there for the moment, Acolytes. Acolytes with hand flamers. So they're called Acolytes with hand flamers. They're also the Acolytes that can have the demo charges. They are very good in infantry hordes. You could have lots of them. They still have AP1 claws. They still get to fully reroll wound rolls in combat, not just for shooting. Don't forget that. It is all of their attacks against any enemy on an objective. It doesn't have to be an objective you control or an objective the enemy controls. It's just full rerolls to wound. If you're having a mechanized list, they could go in a truck or a Rockgrinder, more a Rockgrinder than a truck. If you're going with hordes of monstrous things like in the Biosanctic Brood Surge, also have these because they're going to do the actions. Oh yes, and if you're on an objective, you automatically regenerate 3 models from your cult icon, rather than D3. I have also tried so hard to make the index demo charge thing work, but in the codex. Host of Ascension, yeah, you've got sustained hits, you've got a character with them that's giving them lethal hits, you've got full rerolls to wound there, you kind of need the full rerolls to hit, and the Primus doesn't give you that anymore. So your Primus could give you +1 to hit, but that's about as far as you can get. You won't get full rerolls to hit anymore in the Outlander Claw. Oh, there's full rerolls to wound with +1 to hit. Yeah, but you don't need the truck to do that. The truck, Goliath Truck, has the ability. It shoots something. The unit that gets out can also shoot the same thing, and if they do, they get to fully reroll wound rolls. In Host of Ascension, you have tunnel crawlers, so you can arrive 6 inches away, so you're in bomb range, because they changed the range of the bombs to be 8 inches. The demo charge is at 8-inch range. Don't they do the shoot out of a truck with bombs, then they run out, and then they do it again because the truck technically shot the bombs? That has changed. Because there's an FAQ, update, errata, one of the rules changes they did. It's in one of the PDF documents somewhere on the community. You cannot fire one-shot weapons from the firing deck. It's an update to the firing deck rule. So they can't do that anymore. So I would say skip the demo charges. Stick with the hand flamers. Clear light infantry. Use the hand flamers for that. You also have a pretty small footprint to deep strike with the squad of 5. Okay, don't use the bombs. That's the idea. Don't use the bombs. But you can take objectives. That's their main thing. Turn up, do actions. You have deep strike. Turn up anywhere. If you're playing like Space Marines, you think, okay, I need some assault marines with jump packs to land somewhere. And then we'll do an action. We'll score victory points. This is what the Acolytes do, but cheaper than pretty much anyone else. It's like the cheapest unit in the game to deep strike, apart from Acolytes with mining tools. But these are generally good because they have the hand flamers and they do the shooting if you want to do the shooting. And I like my 5 Acolytes with mining tools where I can guarantee them getting in combat rather than a 9-inch charge. Any benefit of taking more than 5? Not really. But you could have a squad of 10 with the Assault Commando enhancement for the Primus, then you get reroll hit rolls, and you get +1 to hit, and you'll get to reroll wound rolls if you're disembarking from a Goliath Truck. That's not bad. Or you could just have a couple of Reductus Saboteurs and you'll have better bombs that get more hits. Yeah, they're good for objectives. They're really good to bring back with resurgence points because it's 2 resurgence points. So a squad of 10, I would just take Acolytes with mining tools or Metamorphs because they can do combat. Otherwise, you've got 10 hand flamers, that's a good Overwatch threat, or you could have 10 Metamorphs with hand flamers. Although these could, fully reroll wound rolls on Overwatch. Yeah. So you could take a unit of 10. You've got Assassination Edict, or Denunciator of Tyrants, +1 to hit and +1 to wound. I'm just thinking of the hand flamers. +1 to wound. Other things might want it because then they can also get the +1 to hit. We're kind of clashing with Purestrains that are 5 points more and have 2 wounds, and they can also do actions. You can drop them in, but I like them for infiltrate. Yeah, the Acolytes with hand flamers are just a great unit to have in every detachment. 2 resurgence points. You drop them in, you do the missions, you score the points. They get killed, they come back, they score more points. Victory points win the game. Killing the enemy is optional. You can do it if you want. It certainly helps. The hand flamers are good at killing enemy units on their home objective. Cultists do not like 5 hand flamers or 4 hand flamers getting full rerolls to wound. Overwatch if they try and move towards you. Or just shoot them again in the coming turn. Yeah, I would have them all the time. Just 1 unit is all you need. At the very least, that's all you should have. 2 units is good. We have the most consistent reroll wound rolls against enemies on objectives. Like the Chaos Space Marine Legionaries only get that in combat. The Lehman Russ Battle Tank gets to reroll hits, but only if the enemy controls the objective. We get it shooting or combat. So use their claws. They basically have Chaos Space Marine chainswords. Strength 4, 3 attacks, AP -1. So think of them as guys with chainswords. I think I've modelled one with a chainsword just to remember they have the equivalent of a chainsword. Purge the foe would like a word. Hey, you're playing Genestealer Cult. You do it for the primary mission objectives, you score the secondary missions with these, and yeah, you're going to lose some units anyway. It's Purge the foe. We score the objective part, we don't necessarily score the not having units die part. Yeah, try a charge. You can try a charge, especially against the kind of thing that doesn't like hand flamers. Termagants, Imperial Guard cultists, they don't want to be hit by your claws any more than they want to be hit by your hand flamers. Put a 1 in chat for Biophagus, put a 2 in chat for Metamorphs, put a 3 in chat for Big Hammer Lady. Do we want to just leave the Big Hammer Lady to last? That's at least 3 for the Biophagus. Biophagus, right. B for Biophagus for the moment. Good for helping against things that have a high toughness. We were comparing the Aberrants and the Metamorphs before. Okay, strength 7, that's really important if the enemy is toughness 5 or toughness 6. Whereas the Metamorphs have strength 5. They're going to struggle. The Biophagus gives you lethal hits. And against infantry, once per game, you can use that little guy that has the file, that little friendly little chappy. It's got gas coming out of it. That's normal in science. +1 to wound against infantry. Once per game. So the strength 5 mining tools, they get helped. The strength 5 Metamorphs with their strikes, they get helped. Then you can get to your Gravis Marines, your Terminators, your Orcs, your Votan. So that's good anti-infantry, and because it's lethal hits in combat, viable anti-tank. Of course, you'll want to put the Biophagus with a unit in the Biocyclic Brood Surge, so they get the detachment rule. And I wouldn't put them with Aberrants, not in that detachment. That's where you want the Abominant instead. Then you get a Strength 12 Big Hammer Lady. So much better for Acolytes and Metamorphs. Most detachments are going to want them. Biocyclic Brood Surge, definitely. Fantastic in the Host of Ascension. Lethal hits, sustained hits from the detachment rule. I use Our Time Is Nigh, +2 to the charge, arrive from reserves. That's 7 you've got to roll on 2d6. And you can use Primed and Readied that turn or any of the turns, though it's 2 command points, and you get critical 5s. That's lethal hits, critical 5s whenever you want. And we're moving, we're taking objectives when we fight in combat. Whereas if you're shooting with a Benefictus and their lethal hits, you're not taking an objective at the same time. You're not denying the enemy victory points. Well, you are if you kill them, but you're not then gaining victory points unless you can move on to the objective. Fun model to make kit bashes of? Yeah, very easy to do. And there's so many heads in all of the different Genestealer Cult sprues. I'm sure one of the heads on like the Goliath Truck is good. Some of the Atalan Jackals have very good heads. You've got like a mask and goggles, or you've got fancy goggles going over the head. You've got just Neophytes. One of them has like a face covering. Great, use that. If you're playing Biosanctic Broodsurge, and I know many of you are, because I've polled you and you're like, I like it with the big guys with the big hammers and also the other guys with the not so big hammers, but they have the doctor helping them. Use the doctor that helps them. He is the medic from Team Fortress 2. Meet the Biophagus. If you like Xenocrete Congregation, put him with Metamorphs, put him with Acolytes. The detachment rule works on Acolytes or Metamorphs, giving them rerolls to their charge rolls, reroll to their advance rolls, as long as they have any character. Any character, they get that. It doesn't have to be the Primus, Iconward, or the Magus. People seem to think it is, and it's not. Detachment rule is for Acolytes, Metamorphs, and Neophytes. Enhancements are for those 3 characters. Very good, and I think every detachment, not necessary. There are many other characters you might want. You might want a Locus instead, you might want a Primus instead. So much kit bashing available. You never need to buy Genestealer Cult characters. Well, you could buy the Brood Brothers kill team, or just a squad of Neophytes, and from that you can make an Iconward, a Biophagus, a Primus, a Kellermorph, a Reductus Saboteur. It's easier when you've got the Brood Brothers kill team box because you get things like a big bomb, you get another masked face, you get a big icon that's different to all the other icons. Very good. I love mixing parts with the Genestealer Cult. Right, this guy's going to go in A tier, up there. So you've got a good spread, Like even these units at D tier, apart from maybe the Fragdrill, the Kellermorph can do things, but a Sanctus does it so much better. The Clamavus, no, he's in his right place, ignore the Clamavus, but the Jackal Alphus can do things. There's so many other better options to do the things you want to do with them. And the C tier units, like the Benefictus, the Nexos, yeah, they're not great, except in the Host of Ascension when they're rather good. The Magus isn't very good, however, put them in Xenocrete and they do much better. The Aberrants, I think, fail compared to the Metamorphs, but in the Biosanctic Broodsurge, they don't. They have the tools, the literal tools, to do the right thing and do it well. So let's do the Metamorphs. Here are the Metamorphs. The Metamorphs are very versatile. They were not good in the Index, just because of the points compared to Acolytes and Purestrains. If you want to like jump into combat and kill hordes, you would pick the Purestrains. If you want to do combat against bigger things, Acolytes with mining tools. If you just want to have all the bomb shenanigans and do the horrible meta of like, I turn up, I throw bombs, I win the game, you would use the Acolytes with demo charges. But now, they're good. They got the Surge move. That's very nice. And their points are much better compared to these other kinds. Hybrid Metamorph, 70 points or 140 points. Acolytes with Hand Flamers, 70 points or 140 points. Same price point. And we know the bombs are not so good, so Metamorphs are looking good. They have Scout, that's useful. They love a truck, because then when they get out of the truck, we've got full rerolls to wound from the truck's ability on their Hand Flamers. Now they have the ability of the Acolytes with Hand Flamers. They're great for fighting any kind of infantry. And like Toughness 9 tanks, you wound them on 5s, you have damage 2, you can tear apart a Rhino pretty quickly. But we have the Strength 4 attacks. If you want to pretend to be Genestealers, you can be Genestealers. If you want to pretend to be Aberrants, damage 2. You got a Surge move, so enemies will kind of have to stay 6 inches away from you. I like to charge out of line of sight and avoid Overwatch, so I tend not to have the Hand Flamers unless I'm transporting them in a truck. Because otherwise you turn up, you shoot the enemy, or choose not to shoot the enemy, in which case I should have had auto pistols, and then you charge them. Things like Host of Ascension with Our Time Is Nigh. But in a truck, that's good. Then you scout. Having them with auto pistols, then you've got the 6-inch surge move. Sometimes, if I have the Hand Flamers, enemies are like, you know what, maybe you won't roll a 5 or a 6. I'll shoot you with a unit, and then I'll shoot you with another unit, and that second unit shooting is what kills me. Whereas if you're contesting an objective in any way, if you have the auto pistols, you can surge from one side of the objective to the other if need be. Like the tiny tippy-toed parts of the just on the objective, and it's directly opposite, and you're tippy-toed on, and they're tippy-toed on the opposite side. Guaranteed 6-inch surge move will see you in combat and all over that objective. Do you give them a Locus for fight first or an Iconward for 4+ feel no pain? I would say the Locus for fight first, because the feel no pain, they already have a 5+ feel no pain. A 4+ feel no pain doesn't massively boost their survivability. You get hit by a damage 2 thing, you're still gonna die. You're saying S tier? Like, I can live without them. Although they can do a very similar job to the Acolytes with Hand Flamers at the same points. You don't get the reroll to wound, you only have objective control 1, so if you're dropping them on an objective, they're not as good as the Hand Flamer Acolytes. But people seem to think, someone did a good job when they upped them from the Index to the Codex. Or maybe it was just bringing everything down in line that made it better. 4+ feel no pain, 25% chance of just surviving damage to... I know, but how many other bullets are coming your way? They're shooting a toughness 4, like with 5-up save person. I would rather have fight first. Then that's almost total immunity from a combat enemy. The feel no pain gives you a bit more resistance to shooting. 10 Metamorphs and 5 with demo charges, 1 unit of each. Oh, I'd say 1 unit of each. If you got 15, that's a good way to do it. Considering how much the Acolytes with Hand Flamers and the Metamorphs with Hand Flamers look the same, you could just have one as the other. No one will know. How about for final day to survive your own nids eating you? We have a cult icon, you just bring them back, and I'm more often using it on Neophytes, because they regenerate faster. And I care less about Neophytes with autopistols and autoguns. What if you unexpectedly went up against 18 Centurions? Well, let's see. That's going to be very easy to beat. We have a lot of small units that can keep scoring victory points, get rid of anything that's not 18 Centurions, and then laugh at the 18 Centurions as they waddle towards you. You've got the Metamorphs to have damage 2 attacks, Centurions have 4 wounds, you get 2 of them through, you're wounding on 5s, fine. They'll die after 2 strikes. If you want to try and kill them. You don't have to, you can just move away from them and resurgence point to keep coming back, and now you have all the objectives. And you absolutely can focus down an objective at a time to get rid of the enemy. Paul isn't catching strays, Paul continues to take direct and sustained fire from me. Okay, it seems like people want these in S tier. I'm not going to complain. Up we go to S tier. Yeah, Hand Flamers are good. More often I'll use Hand Flamer Acolytes to do the Hand Flamer things. We've got Deep Strike, and our speed, the Genestealer Cult specialists can get to where they need to be. You want the right target, there's the target, you pick the correct cultist and use Deep Strike. Or drive a truck up to them. But then you can't disembark and charge in the same turn. We have no, like, assault vehicles. But with Scout, just Scout, get out. That's like 9 inches. That's like a scouting Ridgerunner, chat. So now we come to Big Hammer Lady. The final one. They can do fine without the Aberrants. They can go and smash things with their Strength 12 Las Cannon Hammer. 4 attacks. You can get more attacks in the Biophagus Brood Surge if you are leading Aberrants. But you have to be leading Aberrants. They don't get the detachment rule because Abominant is not listed among them, only Aberrant is listed among them. You can have them turn up. I've had her complete missions before. I know she's twice the cost of Acolytes, nearly twice the cost. Okay, not far off twice the cost. At some point was like twice the cost of Acolytes, but turn up and hit the enemy. If you don't hit the enemy, do an action. Score some victory points. Get shot, come back to life. She is Celestine. Comes back on a 2+, so she's hard to keep down. You get the Fight on Death ability if you're leading Aberrants. It's a shame we can't have them leading other characters. I mean, leading other units, I would love Fight on Death with Metamorphs or Acolytes with Mining Tools. And yeah, she's good and probably best in the Biophagus Brood Surge, but she's tanky enough that she can do well other places. Potential for sustained hits with Final Days in Human Integration, or with the Host of Ascension detachment rule. In Final Day, you can get +1 to hit with just being near Tyranids. Oh, in the Host of Ascension, give her Assassination Edict. Use Epic Challenge and go and smash some characters. That works so well. If you want to hold an objective, one big hammer is going to be able to endure a lot more than 5 Acolytes. Unless I'm swarmed by cultists with higher objective control. Unless I'm hit by multiple las cannons. I'm putting her in A tier. You don't need an Abominant, but I like having an Abominant. She's pretty much an auto take in my Host of Ascension list, my Biosanctic Brood Surge list, my Final Day list. Not in Outlander Claw, not in Brood Brothers Auxilia. We have actual big las cannons in that detachment. I also prefer 1 Abominant over 5 Aberrants. Yeah, we can do a lot more. And up in a... Oh yeah, it's a smaller base. It's a 40mm base compared to 5 32mm bases of Acolytes. You can fit in the corner, like right back in the enemy's deployment zone, and then they're like, there's a big lady there, and she's got a big hammer, and she's doing something. Why is she doing something? She's getting victory points. I don't like that. We can't stop her, and then she's going to hit us with a big hammer. Choice between Abominant and a second Gargoyle unit in final day? Oh, I'd take a second Gargoyle unit. You can drop in, you can shoot and then move if you need to get closer to an enemy unit, so you can give that Catalyst aura. But Gargoyles, I would have more Gargoyles for sure. Another squad of 10 Gargoyles. I hope you weren't doing a squad of 20 Gargoyles, that's too much. But a squad of 10 Gargoyles, that's good. Or you could have Captain Flappy Bat. Pretty cheap, about 65 points. Fights on death. Turn up, do actions, also has Deep Strike. Cheaper. We like our Captain Flappy Bat. Captain Flappy Bat worth it for Avenger Star Children? Yeah. Yeah. How would you say the Feel No Pains on the Genestealer Cult rule interact with the Final Day Tyranid Regen rule? Now this is where we come to English UK compared to English GW. Games Workshop has this thing on several units that you roll a dice, something happens, you take some wounds, and then that many wounds are restored. The that many refers to the dice roll, not the number that was overall caused. As I understand it. I absolutely can and absolutely did read it as, okay, you roll a dice, you got 3, and then all of them are passed with Feel No Pains, so you didn't actually lose any wounds, and that number is what you regenerate. It could go either way, but I think it's meant to be, though we haven't got an FAQ on it, or errata or any such, it's meant to be the number that you rolled on the dice. Rank the Crucible characters. Okay. The first one is the Cult Insurrectionist, which is a character which is like a Primus but gives you full rerolls to hit. They might be better than a Primus. Remember that these archetype characters cannot have enhancements, so you're missing like a chink in their armor. But they can lead hybrids, Acolyte hybrids, the other kind, and the Metamorphs or the Neophytes. So it's 80 points for basically a Primus, toughness 3, 4 wounds. That's probably going to be in A tier. Do you want full rerolls to hit somewhere? Great, do it. Yeah, they also can't double up. It's not like you have this character and also this. A basically better Primus, but you don't get the redeploy. I'm pretty sure you don't get the redeploy. What are their abilities? Optional abilities. You can have them on a bike. Great, but then you can only join Jackal Bikers. You can have them blessed. Oh, then you can join Aberrants. Do you want full reroll to hit on your Aberrants? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Melee weapons are anti-infantry 3+ on all models in the unit. So we can have full rerolls to hit anti-infantry 3+. You can instead have, if you're not part of an attached unit, move 6 inches. No, we want this in a unit. You can move into strategic reserves as an option. Good. We'll do that with a different character. Or we can undo Battle Shock. Nah. Twisted Science for lethal hits. Full rerolls to hit and lethal hits. Now we're talking. Now we put them in the Host of Ascension. Full rerolls to hit. Sustained hits, lethal hits right there. That's good. We don't want the Clamavus ability, Voice of New Truth. And then give them good combat weapons. Give them... You don't need to do Toxin Claw Injector. Just Bio Dagger. 6 attacks and infantry 3+ precision. That's probably the best one. Or you got a Heavy Mining Tool. Damage 3. Hits on a 3+, Strength 5, Anti-Vehicle 2+. You can give them the Metamorph mutations. Have like a Metamorph leader that gives the unit Anti-Infantry 3+. And also fully rolls to hit. Very good character. They're going to be an A tier one. The Cult Gorilla is our stealthy, not quite a Reductus, not quite a Sanctus, stealthy person. They've got Infiltrators, they've got Deep Strike, they've got Lone Operative, they've got Stealth. They can join units though. They will lose the Stealth because you need every model in the unit to have Stealth. And Infiltrators only works if every model in the unit has it. Lone Operative only works if you're alone. You can't be a group of Lone Operatives, even though you sort of can. I'm sure there's rules for it. On some unit, be like, yeah, this one's a Lone Operative rule. Because it's a rule, rather than having to be alone. And they have the Nexus ability, so one stratagem is cheaper by 1 command point. But we can join units, great. So wherever you'd put a Nexus, you instead put the Cult Gorilla, and then use them with Atalan Jackals, and then we have a very good Outlander Claw. Use them with Aberrants. Oh, good. Now we're good in the Biosanctuary Brood Surge. Cheaper stratagems. Then you can give them Blessed Venom for anti-infantry 3+, which they probably only have, so don't bother with that one. Instead, how about we go with the Twisted Science, lethal hits. Good. That can be good. Or instead we have another lone operative character. Maybe you put them with like 5 Acolytes, and when the Acolytes die, we're back to being lone operative. Any shots that were still to be resolved would carry over into the character. It's not like, stop, I'm alone now, I'm alone, no hurty, don't hurt me, it's all fine. It's not fine, it's bad, and they're gonna die. Yeah, they're a good character. Give them the Cult Sniper Rifle, which is the best version, or give them like 3 Hand Flamers. Sounds fun. Or give them the Bio Dagger and the Sniper and have an even better Sanctus than the Sanctus. Yeah. A tier, if not S tier, because they're alone, and they're really cheap, like 60 points. They can do grenades for free, basically, because 1 command point fewer stratagem. Yeah, S tier. Gave your Cult Insurrectionist the Heavy Mining Tool with Blessed Venom, so it can lead Mining Tool Acolytes, Anti-Infantry 3+, Anti-Vehicle 4+. I like it. I like it a lot. The best version of the Jackal Alphus, a custom Jackal Alphus, yes. And the last character is the Voice of the Patriarch. They have the Benefictus ability, ranged weapons, have lethal hits. They can join the same units. 70 points, but with 4 wounds, so that's better than the Benefictus already. Then you could have them on a dirt cycle. Nah, you don't need that. You don't need them with Aberrants either, because it's ranged weapons get the lethal hits. You could have them with a unit that's good at shooting and combat, but I don't think there is such a unit that doesn't just have hand flamers. So there's no point giving lethal hits at range and in combat. But think of like Host of Ascension things. So do you want to have, Psychic Spoor? You could target an enemy with the Las Cannon Brain. You are the Psyker, so you're the only one that can have the Las Cannon Brain. Psionic Cascade. Have to be a Psyker, has to be this character doing it. Yeah, give them Psychic Spoor. Now it only applies to that model. It doesn't apply to the whole unit. Pick one enemy unit to be this model's prey. Each time this model makes an attack that targets its prey, reroll hit rolls and wound rolls. You could be alone. There's no way to get lone operative. No, but driving around with a las cannon, essentially, on your head. Not a bad idea. On a bike. No, put them in a unit. Host of Ascension. Yeah, lethal hits at ranged. And, I don't know, you got... Oh, yes, I know the one we want. Insidious Evasion. At the end of your opponent's fight phase, put them back into reserves. That's what you do. Insidious Invasion in Host of Ascension. Pop up, shoot. We have lethal hits, we have sustained hits, we have ignore cover, disappear again at the end of the enemy turn for free. Doesn't cost you command points. Go again. And have a Bio Dagger. Of course, have a Bio Dagger. Yeah, you can make a character on a quad bike. That'd be fun. That fits. There's nothing to say which base size you have to use. It's kind of vague and you're meant to know which base size you're using because it says right at the start, you can use a base size one bigger but not one smaller. Oh, what's bigger than oval? I guess the bigger circle? So they're fun. They're fun. Hey, they're all going to be A tier because you can do the best of things, if not S tier. I'm getting a lot of catchphrases going. Hey, what about 60 Battle Sisters? Advance and charge. Where are my Celestians Games Workshop? Where's my Celestians with guns? We love Big Hammer Lady. Legends, use legends. I have been playing since 2nd edition. You know the Sisters of Battle? Well, there's also the Battle Sisters in the Imperial Agents. The Battle DJ is not real. Oh look, a sudden French village. Drop cathedrals and have a great day of 40k.